Warning: the following content contains a lot of spoilers. If you don't want to get spoiled, feel free to click off this video and watch a different video of mine. You're free to come back here after you completed the anime. Viewers' discretion is advised. Man, this anime was funny at first until it became depressing to watch, but in a sad way. However, I really loved watching the anime. Anyways, let's get right to the introduction. N.H.K. K ni you koso, also known as Welcome to the N.H.K, is based on a novel written by Tatsuhiko Takimoto and illustrated by Yoshitoshi Abe. But since I said novel as in one, this is just a singular novel where the whole story is in. However, a manga series was created later. It is still written by Tatsuhiko Takimoto, but illustrated by Kenji Oiwa. It lasted only 8 volumes and 40 chapters from 2003 to 2007, while the anime series was released in 2006 and lasted only 24 episodes. It was animated by Gonzo, an animation studio known for animating animes like Gantz, Fullmetal Panic, and Kaze no Stigma. Alright, let's get right to the plot. We start the anime with a 22-year-old man named Sato, and Sato is a hikikomori. He lives alone in a trashy apartment, he always stays at home, he never goes out, he doesn't have a job, or he doesn't interact with anyone. But one day, his doorbell rings, and it's a girl named Misaki, and she's with someone else. Since she's not important, I'm focusing on Misaki. Sato was given a form that was basically calling him out. It was a form about needs, aka not in education, employment, or training. Alright, for those who don't know what a NEET is, let me explain. A NEET is a type of person who is unemployed, not educated, and hasn't been given vocational training. This casually affects older teenagers or young adults who are out of school but never went to college and get a job. I am explaining this so I won't make the story sound confusing to viewers watching this video. So yeah, thank you for understanding, and let's get right back to explaining the plot. After getting the form, Sato denies being a NEET and angrily closes the door on them. Later on, Sato thinks about wanting to get a job and get out more so he won't be seen as a NEET. So when he goes out to get a part-time job at a place nearby, he sees Misaki again, so he just chickens out and runs back home. Later on, Misaki shows up at his front door to give his resume he dropped back to him, but Misaki writes something on his resume, which is that she wants him to participate in her project and meet up at a nearby park. So Sato decides to go to the park, and Misaki shows up. Turns out Misaki knows that Sato is a hikikomori, so she wants to help him be cured for being a hikikomori. Misaki then gives Sato a contract for him to sign. Turns out it's where he has to listen to what Misaki says and to make his hikikomori life go away. So he takes the contract so he can sign later on, but before he even signs the contract, he gets tired of his next door neighbor blasting an anime opening. So he confronts his neighbor by opening his front door and yelling "shut up." But this isn't just a random neighbor, it's his friend from high school named Yamasaki. Turns out, he was the person playing that song every night, so Yamasaki is apparently an otaku who is studying a media course and creating games. So Sato and Yamasaki chat for a while, until Sato noticed a book about creating games. So he takes the book so he can show it to Misaki and act like he's a game creator, when he isn't. He even started lying to her that he works at home and creates games at home. And when Misaki asks him for examples, he makes excuses like he cannot show them since it's something that can't be shown to the public. But he said he will show it to her next month. So after Misaki hears him out and leaves, Yamasaki catches him in the act and confronts him angrily. But he would calm down later and say he wanted to help create a game with him. And that type of game is something called Bentai games. So Yamasaki gives Sato some examples of those games for him to play, and he gets addicted. Don't worry, I won't get into detail with that, so I will skip this part. So one day, while Sato and Yamasaki are in Akihabara buying otaku merchandise, Sato bumps into his senpai named Hitomi, and Hitomi is Sato's high school senior. So they started chatting while having some drinks together, but after a while, Yamasaki gets mad at him for leaving him alone, so he goes back with Yamasaki and goes back home with him. So after getting back home, Sato remembered the contract Misaki gave to him, so he signs the contract and gives it to her, proving that he's indeed a hikikomori. So now, Misaki is giving Sato counseling. I also won't explain detail in what they say since it's a lot to say, but there is one thing I will say. Misaki tips Sato off that Yamasaki allegedly has a girlfriend, so Sato goes to Yamasaki's media school and he sees him hanging out with a girl, which proves that he is dating. So he gets a panic attack that he goes back home. So when he's at home not leaving his apartment, his phone rings and it's his mom. They talk about how she is going to visit him, so he starts lying to her that he has a job and a girlfriend he's going to marry, but in reality, he doesn't have either of them. So to make his mother believe him, he tells Yamasaki that whenever he calls him, he acts like someone working at a game company, and he makes Misaki his pretend girlfriend. So on the day he and his mother see each other, they go to a Chinese restaurant to eat and chat. However, his mother caught on that Sato was lying about having a job and a girlfriend, so unfortunately for him, he couldn't make his mother believe him. But after this is where things get pretty depressing. Sato and Yamasaki decide to stalk Misaki to see what she really does and why she really picks Sato. After all that, Sato goes up to Misaki and then says that he quits counseling because he doesn't want to see her face again, and he runs away. Oh, this isn't the only depressing part, it gets even more depressing. Sato's senpai Hitomi joins an internet group and starts talking about made-up stories, such as having an abusive lover. Meanwhile, Sato and Yamasaki finish the game together and plan to sell it at Comic-Ket. So they decide to sleep and wake up the next morning for it. However, Hitomi calls Sato where they end up spending the night together. Sato then finds out Hitomi is having an offline meeting with some online friends, so he decides to join her. So when they go to the offline meeting, they all go to a beach island. But here's the thing about this offline meeting. This isn't an offline meeting where they are going to have fun. It's a suicide pact. So when Sato finds out about it, his mind completely changes. So when the group of 5 was about to do it, one of the guys decided not to because he was imagining his mother crying. So because of what he said, everyone decided not to do it and remember their loved ones and everyone else they loved. After all that, Misaki, Yamasaki, and Hitomi's lover all saved them from doing it. Hitomi's lover even proposes to Hitomi, which makes her change her mind forever. So the group leaves the island and checks into a hot springs resort to cool off. Hey, sorry to interrupt again, but since the topic I was talking about was dark and depressing to hear, I would like to give a suicide awareness message to everyone who feels depressed. I know you are having a hard time in life and you're not happy with it, coming from somebody who was depressed at one point. I get that you're not happy with it, but I will tell you what you should be happy with. You should be happy that you have a home you live in, items or objects you own, parents, siblings, cousins, ancestors, friends, and others who all care about you. I also recommend seeking therapy and talk to someone that can help you overcome what you're going through. I promise they will give you the help you need. I also recommend calling the hotline number in whatever country you're from. But for my American viewers, here it is. Thank you for listening to this message, and let's go back to explaining the plot. So after everyone has recovered from the offline meeting, they all go back to their loved ones and go their separate ways. But before they all go their separate ways, the teenager of the group gives Sato a free trial to a MMORPG game that gives out real money when you sell in-game items. But I will get back to that since once Sato went back home, he and Misaki were still on bad terms, but they eventually made up. So after the counseling, Sato goes back home to hear his phone ringing, and it's his mother. And he is informed that his allowance is now cut in half. So because of that, he decides to make money from the MMORPG game. So over time, he becomes addicted to the game. It was even to the point that he started crushing on a player in the game named Mia. He even started missing counseling with Misaki and not go outside once again. That was until Mia turned out to be a catfish, which was Yamasaki the whole time. This was a lesson for him that he cannot judge a book by its cover. Anyways, Sato gets another call from someone named Kobayashi, and Kobayashi was a class representative from Sato's classroom during high school. Little does Sato know, Kobayashi is from a pyramid scheme. She is only in a pyramid scheme because she wants to support her brother and pay off her debt. And her brother is also a hikikomori, but worse than Sato. He always stays in his room and plays video games all day. After all that, the pyramid scheme was found out by the police, so the leader was arrested, including Kobayashi as well. Once her brother realizes she wasn't home, he goes outside for food, but instead of getting food, he gets a job as a ramen shop as a delivery person. So Kobayashi is now by herself, no debts and no brother. Well, here's where the anime gets more sad. Yamasaki has to go back home due to his father's health problems. So during his last days in Tokyo, he confesses to his girlfriend about how much of an otaku he is, and he gets slapped in the face. He and Sato finish the full game together and start selling a winter comic kit, which unfortunately didn't sell well, and they hang out for the last moments together. So this is goodbye for Yamasaki. This is also goodbye for Hitomi since after hanging out with Sato during New Year's Eve in Shibuya, Hitomi tells Sato she's pregnant and they part ways. And Misaki? My goodness, this is the saddest of them all. But before I explain, she started feeling depressed after Sato lied to her by telling her who he was meeting, which they went back home after visiting Shibuya. Once they went back home, Sato continued his counseling with Misaki, which was a graduation exam he had to do. So after he completed Misaki's project, she then gave him another contract for him to sign so he could have someone to hang out with, but he unfortunately declined. After declining, he starts feeling like he made a mistake and he shouldn't have declined. He then gets a job as a ramp service agent, making him no longer a hikikomori and a NEET. But after getting a job, he hears the news of Misaki being rushed to the hospital after collapsing in the bathroom. So when Misaki's uncle asked Sato for a ride at the hospital to visit her, he accepted it and decided to go with him. During the ride to the hospital, Misaki's uncle tells Sato about her rough childhood. Her father died after she was born, she had an abusive stepfather, and her mother died after falling off the cliff, even though it is unclear if it was planned or an accident. After heading to the hospital to see Misaki, she isn't in her hospital bed, and she leaves a note of what she is about to do. So Sato takes a train and a taxi to the spot where Misaki is going to do it. So once he arrives, Misaki is there. Sato and Misaki were doing back and forth conversations so she wouldn't do it, but nothing stops her. She ended up falling off the cliff, but Sato grabbed her at the last second, saving her. After that, Sato was imagining N.H.K conspiracies to the point that he tried to sacrifice his life to kill it, despite it not existing, but lucky for him, a protective fence stopped him from dying. So Misaki and Sato don't die and they go back home. Once they go back home, Sato gets two different letters. One of them is from Yamasaki and the other is from Hitomi. Yamasaki explains his new life and how he got a fiancé of his own, and Hitomi also explains her new life and how she has a kid now. In the end, we see Sato and Misaki agree with each other that they should continue staying alive and suffer their life problems, which means the anime ends with Misaki saying the title of this anime.
So welcome to the N.H.K.
Man, I actually want to cry after watching this anime. I even want to erase my memory and rewatch this. Let's move on to the animation. The animation was alright, but in episode 19, it looked pretty rushed to me. That's the only complaint I have with the animation, but the rest of the animation in the other episodes was just right for me. So yeah, let's move on to the opening and ending themes. The opening is pretty cute to listen to. I love how it sounds, and I love the vibe to it. The opening theme is performed by Round Table featuring Nino. The first ending theme was just laughable and weird to listen to, so I didn't enjoy it, I apologize. This ending was performed by Kenji Otsuki. The second ending theme was beautiful and sad to listen to since it fits halfway through the anime due to how depressing it gets. This ending was performed by Yui Makino. Let's move on to the voice acting. The voice acting was pretty good. I enjoyed every bit of it. It was even funny and enjoyable to hear Sato and Yamasaki's moment together. I even loved everyone else's voice in the anime since it was fitting and great. So yeah, let's move on to the pacing. Okay, I kinda take this as my fault for this, but the pacing was only slow for me for what I will explain. I just started my college spring semester during the week I started watching this anime, which is why I am going to be slow on making videos from now on. I hope you will understand this. Either way, the pacing itself without college in the way is pretty good. It had a lot of moments for viewers to understand why certain things are happening in the scene. So I would say the pacing is great, and it helps viewers understand. We need more animes to do the same thing as this. Time for my final review. Time for my final review on Welcome to the N.H.K. I'm placing Welcome to the N.H.K. on Please Watch This Immediately, just above Frieren, which means this is now currently my favorite anime on this series. Once again, I wish to erase my memories to rewatch this anime again. Time for my next anime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank goodness I did not get Flowers of Evil. I was not ready for Flowers of Evil, but I got my senpai is annoying. Okay, time for my outro. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And please follow my socials in the description down below. And since you know what my next anime is going to be, stay tuned for that. Until then, this is Enjeru signing off.